Our next guest is our go-to guy for tax problems. Please welcome back to the show, board-certified tax attorney, Jeffrey B. Kahn.
There he is, Jeffrey B. in the house. What's up, buddy?
Right. Thank you for having me again. It's always great to be on the set with you.
Yeah, and today in the new digs, right? You haven't been here since we switched things up here, so.
You're always changing things up on me.
I know. It's the IRS is doing the same thing to you.
That's right. That's right.
Hey,
it's
speaking
true.
of surprises.
And all of us, for that matter. My goodness, it's like I am like a target. You know, I had an EDD auditor at my CPA's office this past week.
Yes.
Yeah, I reached out to you about
That's right.
that. I said, Jeff, should I do anything about this? The EDD wants to audit me. He's like, just do whatever they say. Let them in. It's the EDD. So obviously, at the end of the day, I didn't do anything wrong, but I always consult Jeff in those situations. You know, when the IRS calls, when they send something in the mail, if it's the EDD, if it's the Franchise Tax Board, you get this correspondence. The first thing you do is you don't call them or respond to it. The first thing you do is you call your Jeff. This is my Jeff. He can be your Jeff too. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, explain real quick what the EDD is.
Employment Development Department, is that correct?
That's correct. It is the payroll tax arm for the state of California. So the payroll taxes that get withheld from our paychecks, it goes to the EDD.
That's right. They do the unemployment insurance thing, and that's their whole gig.
Correct.
Right? They collect those taxes, and they pay out the unemployment benefits. So if you file for unemployment, you're filing through the EDD. When you pay your taxes, you're paying them to the EDD for employment taxes.
All right.
So, Jeff, I had one question for you because I should have asked you this last year, and I screwed up and didn't.
Okay.
I didn't win my Super Bowl bet this year.
Oh,
But
I'm sorry.
You're going for the Broncos.
I know. But I did last year, and I just realized that I may have to go back and change my tax returns. Do you have to claim income if you win a Super Bowl bet or any gambling bets?
Yeah, well, the IRS code defines income as all sources, including gambling. So if you won, maybe you went to Vegas and you won it big, and they send you a 1099. And if you go to the same casino regularly and you lose, well, guess what? They don't report the losses to IRS.
So I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, so it's your responsibility to keep track of them because the code allows you to deduct your gambling losses to the extent of your gambling winnings.
Interesting. So if I had a loss this year's Super Bowl bet, can that offset last year's win?
No, it's only per calendar
year.
Sorry.
Knew I was going to say that.
There's no carry back or carry forward of those losses. I know you'd like there to be. But
So I don't get to deduct that then unless I had a gambling win.
That's right. It's only to the extent of your winnings. So if you, let's say you lost Super Bowl this year, right? Okay. And we're not going to disclose how much you lost, but keep that number in your mind.
Okay.
Because actually, if you now go to a casino, and even though it's totally different gambling, you now win at the casino, you're going to want to claim your Super Bowl gambling loss against that casino winning.
So there is a bright side.
Yeah.
That's right.
I like that.
That's right. And then I'm going to flip it even to the next level, and that is, unfortunately for your gambling loss, it's not a direct offset against your winnings. Your winnings go on page 1 of the 1040, like with your W-2 income, your interest income. Your losses, though, go on Schedule A as an itemized deduction.
So it's not a one-for-one
So
deal.
it's not a complete, offset. However, if your livelihood is not doing San Diego TV, but instead you're a professional gambler, then you can take your losses on page 1 of that 1040 return with the income, but you're still limited to what your winnings are.
Okay, I was going to say, because there are probably some gamblers out there who are unsuccessful, but there's no tax love for them.
That's right.
Unless they're winning as well.
That's right.
Good stuff. Speaking of tax breaks, Jeff, I know a lot of people right now, just in my intimate network, who are caretakers for a family member, whether it's a grandpa or grandma, mom or dad, an aunt or an uncle. I was curious because I saw an article in Yahoo about tax breaks that might arise from this. Of course, I don't believe anything I read in Yahoo. That's why I ask you. So what tax breaks are there, if any, for people who are caretaking for someone else?
Yeah, no, very good question to ask. You know, I kind of feel we're in the sandwich generation because it's like we raise our kids and then our kids grow up, they go to college, they're on their own, and now we have to support our parents, you know? So it's like, when do we ever get a break? So it's really important that if there's a tax break that you could possibly get for taking care of your parents, you take care of, you know, you take advantage of that. So the first thing would be the personal exemption. So if they are your dependent, you are taking care of them, and there's certain tests that you need to meet, you can get a personal exemption form just like you do for a minor child.
Huh.
Oh,
Wow, claim
okay.
as a dependent then.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's
so,
huge.
of course, the relationship is there because, you know, they're your parents. So you got that. Income. If they earn more than $4,050, then you're not going to be able to claim them as an exemption. Fortunately, to determine that amount, Social Security's excluded from there, as well as tax-exempt income. So if you figure they're not working, and maybe they have some interest, dividend income, as long as it doesn't exceed $4,050, you meet the income test. The last test is support. You've got to furnish at least half their support, and if they live with you, then basically the fair market value of that living arrangement, you know, a one-bedroom place or whatever, that can be factored in as support.
Okay.
So those are the three tests. And now if, let's say, like my brothers and I, we're taking all apart in supporting mom or dad, and therefore we're all kind of supporting them, well, if you still furnish at least 10% of their support, and together we provide more than 50%, I could still get the personal exemption for my parents. But keep in mind, in that situation, only one person still gets the personal exemption.
Only one person gets to use it. Are there any items that you can individually deduct, like expenses for taking care of someone, that would ultimately be a deduction on your personal returns?
Yeah, actually there is. So there's, first of all, you can get a tax credit for dependent care. So just like the minor child that you have and you're paying for support and you can get a tax credit for that, that same tax credit applies for parents, and it's worth up to $3,000 per parent. So you have two parents, you could be looking at a $6,000 tax credit. The problem though is if you're earning more than $43,000, that credit's essentially wiped out.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And the last thing about expenses is, keep in mind medical expenses. If you're paying medical expenses for your parents, you can still claim those medical expenses as itemized deductions on your tax return.
That's huge.
That's huge. But remember, it's still subject to 10% of your adjusted gross income. So whatever your adjusted gross income is, let's say like it's $100,000, 10% of that's $10,000. So that means the first $10,000 of medical expenses for whoever they are, it's not even going to count.
Ha! See, can you believe he knows all this stuff
I know,
in that
right?
head there? I mean, it's like,
Did you go to school for this?
how much stuff can the IRS put out there? How many pages of code is there?
know.
He knows all this stuff, and this is huge. I will say this is really big. Take advantage of the few breaks that there are out there for you in that situation. Call board certified tax attorney Jeffrey B. Kahn. He's the only person I trust to have you or anyone else talk to about with regard to taxes. Jeff, thank you so much for being here, man. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks for having me, Derek.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.